So if you haven't seen my interactions with all of the government agents, then you should go check that out first. So that way now you can understand where the source of the problem actually lies. People think that they can vote on a president that's going to have any sort of effect. That's just another part of the scapegoat-like hierarchy that I've talked about, the LARPing scapegoats. That's the politics. The government can't do anything because the government's just a bunch of little groups. Those groups are filled with people. Those people are trying to pay their rent, feed their families, so they could give a shit about you. At the end of the day, people turn around, they're like, well, if you know that the industries are funding all of this, then maybe we could talk to the CEO, see what he can do. That's not going to get you anywhere either. The CEO is at the behest of the founders, basically meaning that if he doesn't basically reproduce money or basically take value out of the country to give to them, then he basically ends up losing his job. People don't recognize, what do you do when you're a global industry and this group of people over here aren't producing anymore? You're starting to lose money in this country. How do you get your equipment? How do you get your assets? How do you get your money, basically your value, out of the country? Just think about what goes on. First of all, in America, we have all these laws, these policies, these rules that have to be followed. Very strict guidelines that take time, energy, and money. So that's a big loss. You consider the fact that our education doesn't teach you anything of value. Kids come out of school, high school, you don't use any long division. You don't use multiplying decimals by hand. When you go to college, you're thinking to yourself, that's gonna be useful. Nope. You're an engineer doing a rocket equation with a piece of paper, a pencil. You have an equation sheet, like there's no internet, like there's no book someplace. You can't communicate. You've got like 45 minutes. Like, come on, this is insane. Like, that's not even, you can, like, look at how much work goes into building a starship. That thing can blow up so many times. I'm gonna do that in 45 minutes. That's insane. And then you think to yourself, well, at least we're still producing something. No, we're producing labor. Look at the structure of it. You go into an engineering company, what do you have? You've got HR, you've got admin on top of admin on top of admin. You've got management 1, 2, and 3. What does management produce? They don't produce anything, they just manage. So then who's above the managers? You have a director. What does the director do? Nothing. He doesn't do anything but point from higher up. Basically meaning he's consuming, but he's not producing. Okay, so where's the director go to? The vice president. What does the vice president produce? Not shit. He's above them, taking more information from down here. He's out there talking to people like, give me your money. We have stuff that you want. Basically producing stuff as like if he was an advertising agent, but then he goes to the president. What does the president produce again? I think you know the answer to this. Not shit. And then he talks to a table of leeches, old leeches. Understand that like 65% of the wealth of this country is locked away in the boomer and the silent generation, which means that 60 years is the minimum age of 65% plus of the worth of this country, which means when they die, how do you maintain that structure? You can't. The people below them, below the boomers, the only thing that they have is the bad experience working underneath the boomers who don't have anything under their belt other than how to steal money from them. How to get an advertising, marketing, and legal team together so that way they can think to themselves, well, if we say this, it's technically not a lie, but it's gonna sound like, it's gonna imply this, they're gonna think this. The advertising agents will come in, look at us, flashy. Meanwhile, the actual users are like, I guess, man, whatever. The marketing is like, there's a certain amount of money over there, so we'll target them with this ad. These people are African community, they feel this way, we'll target them with that ad. And so it's basically just a whole bunch of people figuring out how to take value from places, but nobody's creating shit. So at some point in time, people are gonna come to me, because if I'm in this industry just like anyone else, they're gonna start trying to apply their policies, the regulatory guidelines, all these things to try and get you to basically take the value you had and turn it back down to crap. Because if you're producing value over here and people see that value, then they're gonna compare it to everything else and they'll be like, well, oh, that's crap. Why does this have value and that doesn't? So they're gonna come and try to apply guidelines, regulatory stuff. And I'm gonna tell them to go fucking kill themselves, because if they don't do it, I'm gonna show the people and then that'll end up doing it. So they need to back down now so we can start reproducing some value before this country turns into something that's untenable. If we don't produce the value that we're consuming, eventually we rot off. How does that look? You guys don't understand what the balance is already like. Recognize right now, like people are in New York, like they're just like, oh, the best country in the world. If you look around, dude, no one's maintaining that infrastructure. It's rusting, it's getting older. They don't have any plans on fixing it. They're pulling out of the country. That's why it's all rusted like that. People don't recognize that when they go to the store, that store is literally thinking to themselves, well, this is how much my stuff costs. We know costs are going up. So the cost of all of the items is going up for him. So now people are getting, things are getting harder. So people are purchasing less. So the cost of stuff is going up, people are buying less, his overhead is the same. He still has to pay the same amount for employees. The building doesn't cost any less. The taxes on the dirt don't cost any less. And then the truck drivers that bring the materials and the stuff into that city, they need more too. So now he's like, hey, guess what? I'm making less money. All of my costs have gone up. Meanwhile, I have less stuff to sell. So I need to buy less stuff from the truck driver. Ring, ring. Hey, truck, I have X amount of dollars for X load. The truck driver says, go kick a rock and break your toe because I can't afford the fuel cost to get out there with the stuff that you're asking for. He's like, I need at least this. And he's like, well, if I pay you that much, I don't even break even at this point. So what happens then? You think one of them rolls the dice and takes the loss? Like, oh, I'll pay for the fuel. They just close the business. There's two ways this could go down. This could go down slowly or it could go down fast. Fast is people outside looking around for food, rocks through windows. Basically, it results to in people eating rats and each other. We've seen this in other countries. This isn't something that it's not something I'm coming up with. In the 21st century, this is happening. So don't think that it can't happen here. It's just a matter of value. If it goes down slow, it's not much better. What happens? You have maybe Walmart or some large industry that can afford the loss for a while. But they're not going to just be losing money for no reason, right? You see what happens when Target or those other places get robbed in a bad area. Eventually, they just shut down. So what would they do if they don't want to shut down and they're trying to make money? They'll raise the prices. So now you're still in the same scenario. You've got way less options. But then that's when you're going to start finding crazy stuff where they're trying to sell you cricket meat for whatever. And that's all that's on the shelf because they don't have the money to afford to bring that stuff in. It's just a loss. Your president, doesn't matter who it is, they're not going to fix that. They don't have that power. Best thing that they can do is try and fight off the idea of going to war at best. At worst, they can decide that they're going to push a button to blow up the whole planet, but they can't decide where the money goes or how the industries are going back and forth. Understand, all of these industries that you're looking at, whether or not it be the tech industries, the medicine, all that, it's all owned by the same people. We've got Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. You understand BlackRock is they're huge, right? That's the biggest asset management company in the world. Guess what? They're partially owned by Vanguard. Okay, guess what? Vanguard, who runs them? Well, if you ask that question, they'll tell you the money runs Vanguard. And people will go, oh, the money runs Vanguard? Okay, I'll just walk away with that. The money, dude, a stack of cash is sitting there as an oracle, deciding where money goes and where money doesn't go, what to fund, what doesn't not to fund. It's corruption 101. They hide their face. They don't want you to know who they are because no one who is your enemy comes out straight up and like, hey, guy, guess what? I'm going to take you out right now, and you should prepare. No, they aim over there. That's your enemy. Go fight them. Russia. Russia's not our enemy. They don't care about us. China's not our enemy. They don't care about us. Understand, just look at what they're doing. They're actually spending money on their infrastructure. They're taking care of their people. We're like, oh, you don't want to go over there? You won't be free. You won't be free over there? Oh, we're free here, you think? Huh? Okay, cool. Free here. You get to go and buy a house, right? And that's your house. After you pay it off for 30 years, if you pay it off faster, and what happens if you stop paying the taxes on the dirt? Oh, that's right. They'll take that home you think you own. But that's all right. There's rules. We understand that there's rules. Like, let's say you want to stop working. Well, you're paycheck to paycheck. You can't stop working for any amount of time. So best case scenario, you can just get another job. Basically, another person that tells you what to do. And you're paycheck to paycheck. So if you wanted to, run away, you've got no gas money. And it's not like you could even manufacture your own vehicle to get on the road because that's rules and regulations too. Like, okay, that's all right. I'm going to start just planting my own garden, maybe get some livestock. Nope. Turns out you can't have livestock in this area because that's another rule. So you're like, I can't even have my own livestock on the dirt that I'm paying you for? Nope. Okay, whatever. I guess I'll just hunt. Nope. You need a permit or license that has to be done in some special area. Okay, so that's, all right, whatever. I'll get a fishing rod. Do you have a fishing license, sir? Is this pond or, no, I don't have a fishing license. And you understand how crazy this is? You need a license to fish, to eat food. You think to yourself, well, when I remember my parents talking about Florida, they're like, man, this used to all be orange groves. You think those orange groves just up and rooted themselves out? No, people looking around trying to control you thought to themselves, it's gonna be hard to keep them under our thumb if they could just get food wherever they want to because they'll realize that all they really need is food. You know what I mean? And as far as shelter goes, the materials we're using for it, guess what? It comes from the planet. It just keeps producing it. People are like, oh, the planet's overpopulated. Yeah? I'll show you a video on that. Go to Google Earth, click anywhere, look around, show me where the people are. It's nobody. It's just grass, trees, and dirt. So push you all into this one location where they can control you, make you think certain things, and at the end of the day, when they're done with you, they just pull out. They don't have to destroy you. They don't have to hurt. They don't have to stop this. Once the whole thing becomes useless to them, they just step back. What happens then? People are looking around like, wait, every day my entire life, all I did was woke up and just drove to this place. Drove back home, went back to sleep, stopped, got some gas, maybe picked up some food. They have no clue what to do now. So they're freaking out. They're in the streets. Their kids are home. Mom, I'm hungry. Where's cereal? Where's the breakfast? And they're like, I don't know what to say. They go to look outside the door and like, am I going to school? No, not today, honey. No school today. I'm sorry. We're just gonna stay home. Okay. As far as food goes, don't worry. We'll take care of that. And you're just looking at yourself as people outside freaking out, going crazy, because we've seen this before. Whenever there's a hurricane, whenever there's a natural disaster, nobody steps in to care. Even right in Hawaii, burn the houses down, and they're like, maybe we'll give them a couple bucks. You know what I mean? Like all the taxes we pay right now to go and fund murder over in Ukraine. I've never been to Ukraine. I don't have beef with Russia. Guess what though? The one person you think to yourself that risked his life to expose government corruption, guess where he had to run to? Russia. Like that, yeah. So the one person who risked his life for us had to go and run away to the evil people. Okay, that makes sense. What about, we've seen the Boeing people get murdered just because they made a mistake. Now, we look over here and it's like, oh, look, another group of people. We get to take the money we don't have and murder. Apparently, we're like the richest country in the world, but you look around, it's like, wait, we're in so much debt that we literally can't even borrow any more money. They had to push it back. So tell yourself, free. I want to build an addition in my house. I want to go someplace. I want to eat or hunt or grow, or you have no freedoms. You can't even tell them that you don't want your kid to be filling their brain 0.2 times this, how to spell this word. How do I use it in a sentence? Don't worry about that. Just spell it. Why? Because you're learning how to stop thinking. That's the whole process here. This is what happens, right? Like they're milking us and we're at the end where we can decide that we're going to go, hold up, wait a minute. I'm just not going to participate. Because what do you think you're going to support your candidate that they need your support? First of all, you already understand now that they can't do anything. But what, out of all of the people, first of all, you're going to put your one chip in the hat and that's going to make you feel like you did something. Meanwhile, it goes to a group of representatives, people who decide like, we're going to focus on what or not or the other. You don't get to like actually check up on them. And anyone could just walk up and be like, oh, you make 100,000 a year. Here's $1 million. Here's 20 million. How about you just do what I say? Scrub the numbers. People won't be any the wiser. And then what? Someone tries to say that we rigged it or whatever. We'll call them a conspiracy theorist. Oh, this, that, the other. We'll just use that to our advantage to continue the divide. Well, because when you're a useless person and you've got your table of useless people and you're looking down at your president or whatever, and he's just as useless as you, and he's going and he's communicating to his vice president, just as useless as him, and then he's going and he's, to the director, just as useless as him, and that director is looking at all the managers, barely more useful, but just as basically as useless, because they're not producing all of that. None of them are producing anything. And they think to themselves, well, I've got all these years of experience. Look at my status, my badges. I've been doing this for 40 years, 50 years. This technology just came out like a year ago, cost effective wise, and you're telling me that your experience is relevant here? Well, yeah, because when I'm 30, I remember going to school with a floppy disk I couldn't put a single song on. I remember the fact that you used to have to park your car, have coins for the meter and for the phone booth, and hopefully there wasn't a person like, hey, I'm waiting on a call to stop you, or a homeless person to say, hey, honey, emergency or whatever. Now I'm driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour, and there's a person watching a YouTube video on a cell phone that the car is driving for themselves. And then they think that my experience makes me relevant. They just tell you that, so that way you keep putting money in their pocket. But they're not producing anything. And that production loss doesn't equate to anything but a continually degrading society, because we think that we're number one, because propaganda only exists in other countries, except propaganda is legal here. And people will literally get killed for exposing certain things. So unless you have a stick like I do, and better yet, now after having a stick that you know it works, because I literally had no emotional support, no technical support, no financial support this whole time, and I've been doing this, and now I actually have something to offer. So if you want to know what I'm doing and what it is that you can do to help, honestly, I need support funding at the end of the day. If you want to see one of the opportunities that I have, one that steps directly to the people, giving them what they need, you can take a look at this video I just posted and look at the GoFundMe, or you can take a look at the AI educational tool that I'm going to be working on as well. These are both going to be very important in the upcoming future. Thank you for your help.